Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are beginning, some still being seated. It's the way it works in the Marines. If you're not on the vehicle, it leaves without you, so please do be seated. Good afternoon, and how are you all doing today? Well, that was mediocre at best, so let me ask you again. How are you all doing today? Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Welcome to the iconic Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial overlooking beautiful La Jolla and not always sunny San Diego. But just imagine, it's an absolutely beautiful day, a little sun, so what? So I'm from Washington, D.C., where it's 90 degrees and sunny, and I'd much rather be here. Thank you very much. We've got an amazing crowd, and I'm excited to see our elected officials and military leaders here. There is so much brass up here, I can hear it ringing practically. Supporting family members and our many military veterans are also here in the audience, especially our Global War on Terror service members who are here with us today. Can I see a show of hands? Come on, don't be shy, don't be shy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Since World War I, the Marines of the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, have always been well recognized as one of history's finest fighting forces. The then French government recognized the young battalion by presenting it with the Croix de Guerre, along with the Fourragère, and changing the name of a French landmark, Belleau Wood, to Bois de la Brigade de Marine. I can't believe I got through all that French. Or Wood of the Marine Brigade. In 2003, I was an embedded journalist with 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines during Operation Iraqi Freedom. In 33 years in journalism, it was the most outstanding, jaw-dropping story of my career. I was astounded by the heroism, the selflessness, the devotion to their comrades and devotion to their country of these Marines. I watched young men making life and death decisions at an age when my toughest decision was who to invite to the senior prom. The Marines of 3-5 humbled me again and again and again. I admired them so much that 20 years later, I interviewed dozens of those Marines for my book, Battle Scars, which is my tribute to the heroes of 3-5, not just then, today, and forever. And through today, they still maintain that warrior ethos. During this ceremony, we will reflect upon their time in Sangin, Afghanistan, and what was known as hell on earth. And you will understand why if you don't already know. So come with us for just over an hour as we learn a little more, celebrate with our fellow veterans, commemorate our fallen warriors, and as always, honor this great nation. It is now my pleasure to introduce Neil O'Connell, Mount Soledad Memorial Association's Executive Director, to kick off our Veterans Day event. Typo here. Memorial Day event. Thank you very much. Sergeant Major O'Connell, United States Marine Corps, served for over 33 years and served overseas during Operations Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, and numerous other deployments. He served with the Mount Soledad Memorial Association Board of Trustees since September 2012. Many, many members of his family are here with us today. Can I see a show of hands of people here to support Neil O'Connell? Yay, okay, wonderful. Neil just asked me if I'm running for office, so please, no, heck no. Please join me in welcoming Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial Association's President Neil O'Connell to the podium.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're not going to get much more smooth than that, Mr. Chip Reid. What a wonderful man. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got plenty of seats throughout this area. If there's a name tag there and no one's in that seat, please come on in and take that seat. We have 800 seats here, chairs that are laid out, and a beautiful vista over here to my right. And we welcome you all. We can't thank you enough for joining with us this morning. And as I get started, the formalities of any ceremony begin with the proper protocol, and many of you are familiar with it. So I would please ask you to stand with me as we invite the Marines from the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment to present the colors. Today's color guard is led by Sergeant John Rodriguez. Color Guard, present the colors. Please remain standing, and once the colors finish their salute, I would ask you to drop your hand, hold your hand over your heart, and I'd ask Mr. Wayne Frater, a Marine veteran, our Veteran of the Year from 2023 to 2024. Wayne is the oldest of 4 boys who grew up on a small grain and dairy farm in Minnesota, and he enlisted in the Marine Corps. He came out here to San Diego, and from a young corporal, he made his way through the ranks and all the way through to a 35-year career right here, right over to the beautiful UCSD campus in academic computing. To over 23 years with the Old Mission Beach Athletic Club, now devoting many, many thousands of hours to the Mount Soledad Memorial. Wayne is married, and he's very tolerant of Jeannie, who helps us with our flags, and they have 2 children. Wayne, please join us at the podium.
Please join me in singing the national anthem. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Please remain standing as we invite Mr. Rosario Manetti to sing our national anthem. And as he finishes, please look to the skies of San Diego coming in from behind you from the west, the San Diego Salute Formation Team. Mr. Manetti, please.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, and the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the rainbow we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in it, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does the star-spangled banner away o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
God bless. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Once again, this aircraft salute coming over your back from the west. Let's hear it. Give them a wave, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Manetti. Please remain standing as we retire the colors. Color Guard, retire the colors. At this time, I'd ask Lieutenant Chur to join us at the podium. He is the chaplain with 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. He is a graduate of Boston University of Theology and an ordained minister in the United Methodist Church. His desire to serve as a chaplain was sparked by a chance encounter with a Marine in a parking lot. He is one of more than 800 U.S. Navy chaplains from more than 100 different religious organizations that are deployed worldwide with the Navy and the Marine Corps Coast Guard commands. And here comes our salute formation. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. That is fantastic. Chaplain. Thank you, sir.
Let us pray. Eternal God, we give you thanks for those who served the country in its hour of need, and especially we praise you for the great company of all those who have finished their course in faith, who courageously laid down their lives for the cause of freedom and our way of life. May it bring us your consolation and the assurance that our loved ones are alive now and forever in your living presence. May the examples of their sacrifice inspire in us the selfless love toward you and our beloved nation, so that in the spirit and love, America be clothed with truth and glory. God, for mercy, we also ask you to be with all those who serve in our armed forces. Bless them and their families. Grant your loving protection. May the bonds created by the blessing of memory grant us grace that in pain we may find comfort, in sorrow, hope, in death, resurrection. May our prayers as a people and a nation be heard and blessed for such a time as this, to renew our faith in freedom and our devotion to democracy. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Chaplain. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Heading back to Chip. All right. Yeah, you're good. You just go on from there. Okay, right. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Gold Star families, fellow patriots, friends of Mount Soledad, neighbors, the San Diego community that has come out here to embrace this very special day. We welcome you to this beautiful, iconic beacon of freedom, the one and only memorial in the United States of America like this. And it prides us in seeing you all here today. So as we gather at this beautiful memorial to honor and remember the brave Marines who gave their lives in the defense of freedom during Operation Enduring Freedom in the Helmand province of Afghanistan in 2010 and 2011. A brutal terrain, a harsh enemy, unbelievable amount of elements to contend with at any given time. We sincerely extend our deepest gratitude to each and every veteran in Gold Star family and friends of the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, Darkhorse, that have come here from distant miles to join us today and who have borne the weight of sacrifice in this global war on terrorism. As we stand here surrounded by the names and stories of countless heroes etched in this memorial, we are reminded of the profound cost of the liberty and the profound cost of our liberty and freedom. Each name represents a life lived with courage, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to our nation's ideals and beliefs that allow us to gather and assemble on this very special day. These brave men and women answered the call to serve, knowing the risks, yet stepping forward with valor and resolve. In the harsh and unforgiving terrain of the Helmand Province, our Marines faced daunting challenges. They confronted an enemy determined to disrupt peace and sow chaos, yet they remained steadfast in their mission. Not only was their mission just a military operation, but it was also a goodwill operation. It allowed individuals to learn about what freedom is by the sacrifices and the enduring hard work and the spirit of the United States Marine Corps, a spirit defined by honor, courage, and commitment. Their sacrifices were not in vain. They defended the principles we hold dear and protected the lives of countless innocent people. Today, we also honor the families who have borne the unimaginable loss of a loved one. To the Gold Star families present here, your strength and resilience are a beacon of hope and a reminder of the enduring bond between a grateful nation and its heroes. Your loved ones' sacrifices are etched not only in this memorial, but in the very fabric of our nation's history. We owe you a debt that can never be fully repaid, but we promise to honor their memory and honor their legacy forever. The global war on terrorism has demanded much from our nation. Since that fateful day in September 2001, our service members have stood on the front lines of a protracted and complex conflict. They have battled not only to protect our shores, but to ensure that every light of freedom shines brightly across the globe. They have fought for the right of every individual to live here in the United States of America without fear, oppression, and tyranny. And as we reflect on the sacrifices that they made, let us also recognize the enduring spirit of those who continue to serve, those in uniform today. Thousands of men and women around the globe, our veterans who join us today as well, from every branch of the military. Each of you have demonstrated with your families the unparalleled dedication and fortitude. Your service does not end, and it does not end when they take off that uniform, as we can see today by our volunteers. They continue to contribute to our communities, our nation, and our world. We are profoundly grateful for their ongoing commitment to the values and freedoms we cherish. On this Memorial Day, please let us renew our commitment to honor and remember. Let us teach future generations. It is upon us to teach them about the cost of freedom and the sacrifices made by those who came before us. Let us strive to live lives worthy of their sacrifices. We must embody the principles of liberty, justice, and equality for which they fought. In closing, I leave you with the words of President John F. Kennedy. A nation reveals itself not only by the people it produces, but also by the people it honors, the people it remembers. Today, we honor and remember our fallen heroes. May their courage inspire us, their sacrifice strengthen us, and their memory guide us as we continue to strive for a world where peace and freedom prevail. Thank you all, and may God bless each and every one of you in our wonderful country. Thank you. Chip, right there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Neil, for those inspiring and heartfelt words, especially about the fallen heroes from Sangin and the Gold Star families who are here today. Thank you very much. Mayor Todd Gloria is the 37th mayor of the city of San Diego. He is a graduate of the University of San Diego and a third-generation San Diegan. Mayor Gloria's lifelong career in public service was inspired by a lesson from his parents, and he has spent his entire professional life in service to the public. The trustees of the Memorial Association always appreciate your support. Mayor Gloria.
Chip, thank you for that introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. I want to start right at the beginning by thanking my friend Neil O'Connell and the entire team here at Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial, their team of the board and volunteers, the sponsors and the organizations that make this event possible. It requires true commitment. They do it year after year, both on Memorial Day and on Veterans Day. It's truly a remarkable event. It is something that must be seen to behold. Neil, to you and the entire team, thank you for what you do and for putting this on. I also would just note that we are accompanied by a number of my colleagues in elected office, folks of all political persuasions at the federal, state, and local level, all of us here today to pay our respects to those who gave their lives in service to our country. I also want to acknowledge a strong contingent from the city of San Diego, our police department, and our fire department. And I would just ask you all for an indulgence. Our police chief, David Nislight, and our fire chief, Colin Stoll, are both here today. Both of these gentlemen will be retiring in the next few weeks after 36 years of service to this city. Both of them are heroes in my book. Would you do me the honor of giving them a great thank you for their long careers of service to our great city? They are incredible gentlemen, and we're such a better city because of them. Guys, thank you so much. Chief Stoll, Chief Nislight. Thank you so much for doing me that favor. Memorial Day is always a solemn day for our city. As a proud military town, and with our region being home to more service members than anywhere else on the planet, we feel this day deeply. I'd argue perhaps more deeply than other communities. And that's why I'm grateful to the Mount Soledad Association for giving us this opportunity to come together, not just as individuals, but as a city, and I would say as a nation, to express our gratitude, to honor the brave men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their country. As is mentioned, we today also pause and remember the families, the silent sentinels of our democracies, whose sacrifices are often unnoticed, but no less profound. And today, with this program, we pay special tribute, and we hold in our hearts the brave men and women of the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment of the 1st Marine Division, who valiantly fought in Afghanistan. And I know we'll be hearing more about that in a moment from General Morris and from Colonel Schueman. I look forward to those comments. These Marines' unwavering commitment serves as a reminder to all of us of the extraordinary courage exhibited by military personnel in defense of our democracy and our freedom. I know there are many Operation Enduring Freedom veterans who proudly call San Diego home. And I say to each and every one of you, your city stands with you. We are proud of you, and we honor you and your service, and importantly, the memory of those who were lost in Afghanistan. It is our duty to come together on days like today, and I would argue every day of the year, to share those stories of courage and of sacrifice, to ensure that they are not forgotten over time, and that these lessons of history remain alive, not just in words, but in our hearts and in our minds. And let us also teach future generations. I love seeing the young people here year after year. Let's remind ourselves to teach them the true meaning of sacrifice that these lives that we're pausing today to recognize teach us. In closing, I extend our gratitude and that of the entire city to those who continue to serve, many who are here this afternoon. The men and women in uniform today stand on the shoulder of giants, many of whose names are emblazoned on this memorial here atop Mount Soledad. Each of you carry on the legacy of bravery and of selflessness, ensuring that our nation remains a beacon for hope and for freedom, not just for every American, but for every single soul on this planet who knows that we live in an extraordinary country and that we'll do whatever it takes to defend it. I want to thank you all for being here to join in this solemn occasion. Many of us have pledged year after year to never forget the sacrifices of those who died in service to this country. Today, you are keeping that promise, and as a San Diegan and as your mayor, I could not be more grateful to see how full this crowd is today. Let us always remember the true cost of freedom, and may we always honor those who have given everything to protect it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gloria. That was inspiring also. As you all know, there might not be any other place in this entire country that is as essential to our defense as this part of California, the San Diego area. It is really the backbone of the defense of this country. Offering flowers and wreaths as at a memorial site is a solemn and formal ritual that occurs internationally, symbolizing the beauty and, dare I say, the brevity of life. Here in the United States, not long after the Civil War ended, communities across the war-torn South, but also in the North, began to pay homage to their fallen heroes by visiting and decorating graves with flowers gathered in the spring when blossoms are new and most plentiful, making Memorial Days, or Decoration Days as they were first called, solemn and widely observed occasions. Decoration Day evolved into what we now commemorate as Memorial Day, a day to remember and honor the men and women of all conflicts who have sacrificed their lives in military service for our country, much like the memorial that stands before you all today, honoring those from the Revolutionary War to today's conflicts. Today, trustees Jen Werner and James Leandro, Army and Marine Corps veterans, are placing the wreath upon the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial to honor and commemorate those brave warriors who made the ultimate sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and place your hand on your heart. Please remove any hats. Military leaders, hand salute. Please be seated. We are very fortunate. I'll wait one moment. We are fortunate to have two great speakers today. First up is Major General Jason Morris, a great friend of our memorial, and we are so fortunate to have your return to San Diego with your wife, Jane Conwell. Major General Jason Morris currently serves as the Director, Operations Division in D.C. And General, I'm sure it was very difficult for you to tear yourself away from the rat race in Washington to come out here to the serene beauty of this memorial and La Jolla and San Diego. Am I correct? Yeah, okay, yeah, I am correct. It was very difficult for him to do that. I'm wondering if he's going to go back, but just. And I should add on a personal note that I first met General Morris in 2003 when he was Major Morris, right? And he was the executive officer of 3-5 in Iraq when I was embedded with that battalion. And he was a Marines Marine then, and he's a Marines Marine now, and he has 2 stars on his shoulders, and I'm told that's a big deal, so. He was the battalion commander for the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment, also in their 2010 to 2011 deployment in Helmand Province, which was the bloodiest battleground for the United States and the United Kingdom forces in the war in Afghanistan. A nice, healthy round of applause and a vigorous welcome for General Morris.
Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is great to be here and back in San Diego. Thanks for the warm welcome, and I am just honored to be here on this solemn occasion. To our distinguished visitors, Congressman Peters, Congresswoman Jacobs, Mayor Gloria, Vice Admiral Boyle, Rear Admiral Rosen, our chiefs, especially our Gold Star family members that are here, friends of Marines, veterans, it's great to see everybody out here celebrating this day in which we remember our fallen. I do want to double down on thanks to the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial, especially Sergeant Major retired Neil O'Connell, and Phil Kendrow, the president, the Board of Trustees, and all the members and volunteers of this association for honoring our veterans by preserving their legacy. This beautiful memorial honors the service and sacrifice of our nation's living and deceased veterans who defended the cause of freedom and democracy in both peacetime and war. For without the efforts of the Memorial Association and its volunteers to fight to hold this hilltop in a very Marine Corps way, we would be unable to display and honor these veterans' service to their country, which currently, if you count the plaques, is at 6,600 and counting. So thank you very much. Let's give them all a round of applause for putting this on, too. So I've been introduced. I am a Major General in the Marine Corps. I currently serve at the Pentagon. It took me 31 years of trying desperately to stay away from it, but they finally got me. And now I proudly serve as the Director of Operations and the Assistant Deputy Commandant there for Plans, Policy, and Operations. Most importantly today, however, is the fact that today has been chosen by the Association to honor the battalion that I was privileged to lead into combat in Afghanistan over 14 years ago. It was already said, Operation Enduring Freedom 10-TAC-2, we went to Sangin District, Helmand Province, Afghanistan. We deployed in late September of 2010, and we redeployed in 2011. So that's who I am, but what an honor it is for me really to represent not just my battalion, and to have Lieutenant Colonel Schueman join me in talking a little bit more about the Marines and our heroes who fell in Afghanistan accomplishing the mission, but also to honor and memorialize all of those who have served, fought, and died in war that we may remain free. I've been in the service for 32 years now. I have had the privilege of training and fighting alongside many patriots and real-world heroes. Both before and after 9/11, I had the privilege of representing America while we worked with allies and partners overseas defending our interests to deter aggression and promote peace overseas. Since September 11th, I have also had the honor and privilege and responsibility of leading Marines in combat in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And while I'm one of tens of millions who have served America since our country's inception in uniform, there have been over 1 million Americans since the American Revolution who have died fighting for our country and our freedoms. And it is these patriots who we recognize today, remembering their service and keeping their memories alive. We Americans must never forget that the blessings of liberty that we enjoy today were fought for and seized by our forefathers almost 250 years ago. In the late stages of the 18th century, democracy in the world only existed in the minds of a few thousand American patriots. At the time, monarchy, dictatorship, and tyranny ruled the earth, and the light of democracy had been extinguished for over 1,500 years. Billions of people lived in oppression. Fortunately, accustomed to local self-colonial rule and increasingly tired of the oppression of the British Crown, our founding fathers took up arms as a last resort to secure their inalienable rights for themselves and their posterity. And since that time, many millions of American men and women have served in our military to defend those same rights against those who would take them away and force us back into submission, oppression, and bondage. And on Memorial Day, again, we remember the 1.3 million Americans who gave their lives and their futures to ensure that we could enjoy our lives, our liberty, and the freedoms of religion, speech, the press, assembly, and to petition, and so much more. And for those of us fortunate enough to be born in America, the example set by those millions of Americans who have gone before us, their patriotism, their courage, their valor, their sacrifice has set a standard for generations to come. Some of the conflicts our veterans served in were declared wars, but most were not. Regardless, when their country called, they served. And although there are many examples of American valor and courage from our history, many of whom are veterans who served here today in the many campaigns since World War II, we are the benefit of their sacrifice and courage. But today we have the opportunity to honor the Marines that I led in Afghanistan who gave their lives. To the association, I cannot thank you enough for choosing my battalion, which has a great legacy going all the way back to World War I and the wheat fields of Belleau Wood. But I will say we were just one battalion in one conflict, and there are many others. But my opportunity today is to brag on my Marines. So I was privileged to command 3-5 during the 7-month deployment to Sangin. It was the most violent district in the most violent province of Afghanistan. Even Afghan people did not want to go there. Our mission was to expand security, governance, and the economic development of the area that we went into. Beginning in October of 2010, my battalion engaged in more than 100 days of tough fighting against an entrenched, elusive, and battle-hardened enemy who had been fighting over that ground for over 4 years. I would say it was a little bit like the doughboys of America showing up on the battlefields of World War I after 3 or 4 years of fighting between the French and the Germans. The enemy knew the ground better than we did, but it didn't take us long to figure out what we needed to do. Over 550 firefights and engagements and 1,100 IED, improvised explosive device encounters later, we turned over a very different Sangin to our sister battalion, the 1st of the 5th Marines. By the end of our 7 months, security had been established, the government was expanding its authority, the bazaar was booming, The children had returned to school, and we saw with our very own eyes the positive results of our efforts. Yet undoubtedly, that tactical victory came at great cost in lives and limbs. Because I never miss an opportunity to remember my Marines who continue to live on in our memories as long as we say their names, I will now remember my 3-5 heroes whose names will be on the plaque that is presented here today. They were killed in action between the 8th of October and the 8th of October 2010 and January 20th, 2011. Lance Corporal John Sparks, killed in action 8 October 2010. Lance Corporal Justin Kane, Lance Corporal Joe Rodewald, Lance Corporal Phil Vintage, Lance Corporal Victor Dew, all killed in an MATV IED strike on the 13th of October. Lance Corporal Irvin Sinaceros, Lance Corporal Alec Catherwood, Lance Corporal Joe Lopez, killed on October 14th. Lance Corporal James Belk, killed on October 15th. Sergeant Ian Tawney, killed October 16th. Corporal Brandon Pearson and Corporal Matthew Brome, best friends, killed together on November 4th. Lance Corporal Randy Braggs, killed on November 6th. First Lieutenant Robert Kelly, killed on November 9th. Lance Corporal James Stack, killed on November 10th. I still remember when the report of his death came in while we were celebrating the Marine Corps birthday with our Afghan partners in Sangin. Lance Corporal Arden Benagua, killed November 24th. First Lieutenant William Donnelly, killed November 25th, Thanksgiving Day. Sergeant Matthew Abate, Navy Cross recipient from action a few weeks earlier, was killed in action on December 2nd. Lance Corporal Colton Rust, killed the 6th of December, along with Corporal Derek Wyatt. Sergeant Jason Pito, killed 7 December, who succumbed to his wounds in Bethesda after suffering from grievous injuries in an IED strike 3 weeks earlier. Lance Corporal Jose Maldonado, killed 17 December. Lance Corporal Kenny Corzine, killed December 24th. Corporal Tevin Nguyen, killed December 28th. And finally, the 25th from 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, Sergeant Jason Amores, killed on January 20th. May they rest in peace, and may we live our lives wholly and more fully so that their sacrifice would not have been made in vain. In context, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, while it has a legendary legacy, I mentioned the Wheats of Bella Wood and its service in World War II, in Korea, in Vietnam, in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. My battalion, these 25 killed in action, are merely 1% of the Americans who died in Afghanistan out of all the Army and Marine units and Air Force and Navy personnel who were attached to them during the 20 years that we served in Afghanistan. 2,459 Americans were killed in Afghanistan, and over 20,700 were wounded during our campaign there. These are the individuals that we honor from just that one operation from the global war on terrorism. And again, they just represent a very, very small percentage of the 1.3 million Americans who have given their lives in defense of freedom since the birth of our nation. So thank you all for coming to remember. Thank you all for coming to honor and pay tribute to those Americans who gave their lives to their country, for their buddies, for their colors, in defense of our freedom and our way of life. As Abraham Lincoln so eloquently stated in 1863 at Gettysburg, from these honored dead, we should take increased devotion to that cause for which they here gave their last full measure of devotion, that we here resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. Today our dead are gone, but they are not forgotten. Let us continue to memorialize them and their example of selfless sacrifice. Let us stand up for the ideals of duty, honor, country for which they lived and died. Let us not just do this today on Memorial Day, but every day live with this spirit in our hearts and in the manner by which we live our lives. If we do this, we will guarantee that for all times that our fallen heroes will not have died in vain. Thank you very much for attending today. Thanks again for the association for putting this fantastic opportunity and venue together and for electing to honor my great Marines from my great battalion that continues to serve today and goes forward and campaigns against our adversaries. But thank you so much. Semper Fi, get some 3-5, and God bless America. Hoorah.
Thank you, General Morris, for that astoundingly beautiful and moving speech. Lieutenant Colonel Tom Schueman served 2 tours with 3-5 as a platoon commander and operations officer. He currently serves as the operations officer of the 5th Marine Regiment and is the founder of Patrol Base Abate. Tom is also the co-author of Always Faithful, a story of the war in Afghanistan, the fall of Kabul, and the unshakable bond between a Marine and an interpreter. His book entwines the stories of then Major Schueman and his friend and Afghan interpreter, Zach. Tom?
Stand by. I'm a grunt, so I'm going to probably break this. Nope, that's the wrong way. Yep, there we go. We're in the fight. General Morris, thank you for your leadership in combat and your continued leadership today. To the Mount Soledad Association, thanks for honoring my friends in the 25. I've got a group of warfighters right here that it breaks this warrior's heart. Very happy to see you. Ra, get some. Great to see you all. You know, when we look at this cross here behind us, we're reminded of a passage from the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 13. You're familiar with it. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. The cross teaches us something about love, and it's that love sacrifices. But it's also helpful to look at the verses around that famous passage to get a little bit more context. If we look just 3 verses prior, in John 15:10, it starts with the Lord saying, "If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love." But what commands? What are we commanded to obey? The answer comes 2 verses later. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. And how has the Lord loved us? He gave us an example through his sacrificial obedience. And it was an obedience rooted not in fear, but love. Today, I want to share a few stories that offer a glimpse into what obedience looks like when it's bound by love. On 24 November 2010, a young Lance Corporal named Arden Benagwa walked point for the last time. Arden was a combat engineer, and what you need to know about the environment in Sangin is that it was a minefield. So we call them improvised explosive devices. You might be familiar with the concept of a minefield. Everywhere we patrolled, there was the threat of these IEDs. But one person had to walk at the front of a single column line, and that person was our combat engineers. They had a metal detector, and they swung that metal detector in hopes of avoiding these buried explosive devices. The issue is that most of the devices did not give off a metallic signature. So when you have a metal detector and there's not a metallic signature, you're basically relying on visual indicators to signify the bomb buried below the surface. But by the end of November 2010, every one of our Marines that were attached to the Kilo 35 Engineer Squad, so if you think of a squad, it's about 13 Marines. Every Marine in that squad that was attached to Kilo 35, except the squad leader, was either killed or injured. Most of the injured, single and double amputees. Every one of those Marines in that squad had been killed or injured up to that point, except Arden. You know that Arden knew that it wasn't a matter of if, but when. This young man knew the consequences ahead of time. But never once did he approach me and say, "Sir, can someone else take this responsibility?" Never once did he say, "But sir, I'm only 19." Never once did he say, "Sir, I'm afraid." No, you know what he did? Every patrol, he'd strap on a pack full of C4, grab that metal detector and his rifle, and walk to the front of the formation. He did that for 3 months until his final patrol on November 24th. Arden, who I named my son after, teaches us what an obedience bound by love looks like. He teaches us what I'm reminded every day as I walk the halls of the 5th Marine Regiment Command Post, where I currently work. This is going to sound a little bit crazy, but the walls at the command post, they speak to me. These walls are covered by the portraits of Medal of Honor recipients. And as I pass by them, they call to me. They demand that I remember. They demand that I learn their story. I've now read every citation at the 5th Marine Command Post along those walls, and 14 of them involve a Marine who jumped on a grenade. From Peleliu to Korea to Vietnam, these Marines who jumped on those grenades had just a few seconds to act. Not enough time to think, only enough time for a feeling that drove a subsequent action. Do you know what they felt the moment before they covered a grenade? Do you know what they were feeling? Do you know what that feeling was that compelled them to launch their body over a deadly missile? It wasn't fear. It was love. Love initiates, and love sacrifices. There's no fear in love. I want to close by telling one more story about one of our 25 that we're honoring here today. He was a squad leader in Lima Company. On 16 October, Sergeant Ian Tawney had just been torn to pieces by an improvised explosive device. His body shattered and ripped apart. And in the moments preceding his death, with the last bit of strength that he had, he raised his head, he looked around, and he spoke his final words. "Is everyone okay?" This is the type of man we honor here today. The ones who in their dying moments ask, "Is everyone okay?" We honor the fallen by giving their sacrifice meaning. They loved, so we're called to love. Today I want to finish with a prayer for the families of the fallen men, that the Lord may assuage their anguish. I pray for the abatement of their grief, and I pray that they know we'll never forget. Thank you all for being here today to honor my friends, our Marines of the Darkhorse. Remember them. Semper Fidelis, and get some. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Schueman. We will now unveil a plaque replica that the audience may view after the ceremony. The actual plaque is located on wall GG on the east side of the memorial in this direction, designated with an honor display on top of the wall. General Morris, Colonel Schueman, Marines of 3-5, and their family and friends are being joined by Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial President Phil Kendrow and Executive Director Neil O'Connell as they reveal the plaque. Ron Allison will play Amazing Grace. As they find their seats again, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to sit down. To conclude our ceremony today, I have the great pleasure to introduce Phil Kendrow, President and CEO of the Mount Soledad Memorial Association, who has served with the board since 2016. Phil served 20-plus years in the Marine Corps, sits on the San Diego County Military and Veterans Advisory Council, San Diego Veterans Day Parade Committee, and is a co-founder of the Veterans Beer Club. Sounds like a very Marine thing, but it's a bit different. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek of a name. That was not a Freudian slip. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek of a name, but this group is helping a lot of transitioning veterans. And there are a bunch of VBCers here today. A show of hands, perhaps? Yeah. And a little applause for them, yes. Wonderful. Phil is married to Jill, a Navy nurse veteran, and has 2 children, Brandon and Alexandria. Are you out here? Yes. Wonderful. Great. Please join me in welcoming Phil to the podium.
Thank you very much. Can I please get a big round of applause for Chip Reid? We so much appreciate you and your wife coming from the East Coast. As he said, it's always difficult getting people from D.C. to visit out here. And I've got a lot to talk about, people that really give a lot of their time and donations and efforts, and I need to thank them very much. I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, Kaiser Permanente, Patriot General Engineering, Amerivet Contracting, who have done continued support for multiple events. Wounded Warriors Project is here today, as well as R3 Strategic Support Group, the Rancho Santa Fe Foundation, and Jersey Mike Subs. Thank you very much. I especially want to give a big shout out to those awesome, handsome men in the great green jackets, the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. Can you raise your hands? We're always grateful for your leadership and patriotic spirit, providing numerous volunteers for each of our events. We appreciate also our supporters like Steve and Stephanie Williams, Ron and Deborah Greenspan, Tim Dave, fellow trustees Lou Scanlon and Paul Pintecht. And also, most definitely, a huge shout out to Guy Evans, John Atherton of Bernards, and all the subcontractors for the beautiful Memorial and Cross Restoration project that just was done over the last few weeks. We must also consider, thank you. We also must consider one individual who's no longer with us. Today, we also honor Chief Warrant Officer 3, Joe Bruner, whose lifelong time contributions to our nation, and especially the San Diego veteran community, will always be remembered. Joe, we're thinking about you too. Mayor Gloria, Congressman Peters, Jacob, Senator Brian Jones, good friend Jordan Marks, Councilmember LaCava, Chief Nislet, and our newcoming Chief Wall. We're excited to have your continued leadership. Thank you for that. Fire Chief Colin Stoll, Executive Assistant Chief Paul Connolly, all the other assistant chiefs that popped up. I'm so glad you're here. Didn't know you were coming, but thanks for being here. Mayor Bill Wells, Vice Admiral Boyle, Captain Spittler, not here, but that's Commander Mortoy's here, Lieutenant Colonel Bradley, and Sergeants Major Burgett and Faust. Thank you for taking some valuable time out of your day. Always appreciate that. Of course, to our speakers, General Morris, Lieutenant Colonel Schueman, we so appreciate you sharing your stories. Our nation is a better place because of men that you are and the men and women you served with. Wayne, we are proud to have you as our Mount Soledad Veteran of the Year. Chaplain Scher, thank you as well. And Ron, thank you for your music and all in the San Diego Firefighters, Emerald Society, Pipes and Drums. To all of our Marines from Marine Corps Recruit Depot and 3rd Aircraft Wing, hoorah. Okay, do better than that, Marines, hoorah. Thanks to Finest City Entertainment and Just the Web Company for your support. Denise, Becky, Bree, Nathaniel, and to our Executive Director, Neil, you are creating so many great ideas and truly leaning forward to make our Memorial Association much stronger. And thanks to our awesome event committee and our 38 docents, which is our largest number ever at Mount Soledad. San Diego Salute Formation Team, you saw fly by, surprisingly twice. They've flown over multiple National Football League, Major Baseball League, NCAA games all over California. I'm so glad to have them here today. I'm always on the ground. They're up there flying. We're also honored to host many of our greatest generation, those World War II heroes. Thank you for being with us. Can you please stand or raise your hand for our World War II veterans today? There's that energy. I love it. We got a few more out there we got to honor, though. I'm so honored to also have us who served in Korea. My grandfather was a Korean War veteran. We have a few out there. Anybody who served in Korea, please stand. Or not, or wave your hand. I know Jenny's thank you so much, sir. Glad to see you again. Silver Star recipient. Last Veterans Day, we honored some of those heroes who did not receive a welcome home that they should have. Vietnam veterans, please stand. Raise your hand, please stand. Thank you, sir, for raising your hand. And now I also want to recognize Those that have faced one of the most difficult situations that a father, mother, sister, brother, spouse can face, the loss of a loved one. Can our Gold Star families please rise or raise your hand? As we stated, we are here at the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial. We'll never forget your sacrifice, and we are ever honored to have your presence here. Then Lieutenant Colonel Jason Morris, Commander 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, knew Sangin had been a hotspot for years, and Helmand Province was the most violent region in the country. He, as Marines, stepped out each day watching each other's backs while patrolling a labyrinth of compounds filled with murder holes, the notorious green zone, and navigating a prolific sea of IEDs. No other Marine Corps unit in history in Afghanistan had been tasked with such a mission. But after 8 months of combatant warfare, 3-5 Marines were able to see the fruits of the labor, as he earlier discussed. For those who gave all, 3-5 Marines continued taking on this fierce and relentless adversary with a renewed vigor fueled by their brothers' sacrifices to achieve success. 3-5 Marines went from being the hunted, stepping into Taliban traps, to becoming the hunters, creating their own traps to take them down. In methodical and skilled order, 3-5 turned the tables on this hub on insurgency by becoming the force to fear. Can I get all of our past and present Darkhorse Marines or family members to please stand and be recognized again? Just stand, please, for us. Again, it's your day, honoring you and your loved ones, please. Again, we are a better military nation in the world due to your valiant effort and sacrifices. For some of our last large ceremonies, I think it's been important to find a poem, a piece of literature, a prayer to end our ceremonies. And Tom, I really appreciate your words on that one. And I'm very honored to share this one today from one of the warriors who served with 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines during their Sangin deployment, Mark Hammett. And I know some of his family members are right there right now. Mark's poem captures a vivid scene of Marines in 3-5, patrolling and Sangin in Afghanistan, focusing on the experience and sacrifices of the combat engineers and Marines who braved running point. He stated that they would joke about calling our patrols hopscotches of death. It's called the Point Man. Early morning, late night, men took steps with fright. Early morning, late night, the Point Man brought Marines to the fight. Boom! An IED took the team to the ground. Snap, 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 were the Point Man's legs found. Head up, look down, was at the Point Man's last breath. Head up, look down, the Point Man lost at the Sangin hopscotch of death. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3rd Aircraft Wing Band will now play the Armed Forces Medley. If you currently are serving or are a veteran of that service, can you please stand when you hear your service anthem played? Army. Navy. Coast Guard. Air Force. Space Force, anybody? Do we have Space Force yet? And we know who's left. Marines, thank you again. You make our ceremonies truly memorable. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand once again as we invite Mr. Rosario Monetti, to sing our God Bless America. He's a music producer for the San Diego Italian Film Festival and music director for the Convivio Italian Heritage Association.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountain to the prairies, to the ocean, what with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Wow. Please be seated. We thank you for your awesome performances today. Actually, amazing, amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're wrapping this up, and we hope you enjoyed this experience today. Well, today we honor our fallen. Many of us every day, active duty service members and veterans each day, are often told, thank you for your service. However, very recently it was suggested to me that the proper response was to tell that person, you are worth it. You Americans are worth our blood, sweat, and sacrifice. Thank you again for being here with us today, and God bless America. Thank you.